walking a mile or running for distance. A part of the journey is feeling the difference from start to the middle. You never go finish. You always get better if you are persistent. Yeah. In mornings I'm making some fruit, a smoothie I'm blending papaya.
Welcome back, Better Self community. Today we have an awesome guest, someone that I'm excited to have, someone that you guys are going to benefit from listening to. She got her start in health and wellness, launching a healthy meal prep company. She decided to go full-time functional health and wellness coach, specializing in breath work. She's a great mind and an all-around good person, Riley Tetanetti.
Hello.
Welcome, Riley.
Thanks for having me. Super excited to be here.
Well, this was the only time to get you on because we got some big announcements coming up.
No, literally, I have 5 days before I'm out of here.
So where are you going to be?
So I just made a big decision. I'm moving out of Cleveland. I'm going to Portugal, and then I'll be in Sardinia, Italy, and then I'm going to be in Ibiza, Spain, with a friend for like 10 days, and then I'm going to Bali for a month. And then depending on how I feel after that, I might either like stay overseas or move to San Diego.
Got it. So what led you to going on this little adventure? Is it like a self-finding journey? Yeah,
I mean, everything's an adventure, you know, life's an adventure, and there's lots of things that led me to this decision. But, you know, like at the end of the day, like a lot of recent events that I've gone through in my life, like before I started my meal prep business, you know, like that journey in itself, like just being an entrepreneur, starting my own business, that was like a whole self-development, like finding yourself journey. And I didn't even know it was going to be, you know, so started that, and throughout that learned a lot, grew a lot. And then I just got to a point where I felt like this wasn't really what I was meant to be doing. And even though we're impacting so many people, I have my own business, I'm able to create my own schedule, I just kept hearing this voice in my head that's like, this isn't what you're supposed to be doing. This isn't what you're supposed to be doing. And along the way, I joined a mentorship program, and shout out to my mentor, Nick Comedina, great guy. Love all the Nicks, you know?
Yeah.
But
I follow him too. He's a
so like just, working through that and like working with him, learning a lot about just like myself through that journey, I realized that there are other opportunities out there that I can make an impact on people in a way that is on a deeper level, if that makes sense. And you know, I obviously when we first met, like I went through a experience, my dad passed away, and that was honestly like the biggest catalyst for just the life that I'm creating right now. Like before that, I was just not really myself for a while. I was like super down and just kind of like depressed and going through a lot of anxiety, and I've never experienced that before. That's not like the person I am. That's not like the message that I want to put out there. Like I wasn't able to really be giving the love that I have inside of me to people because I was so just like internally not well. So throughout that journey, once my dad passed, I was like just kind of like woke up to life, and I feel like I was so unconscious before that. I was just like allowing things to happen to me, allowing myself to be in situations, allowing people to treat me ways that weren't how I wanted them to treat me, and I was kind of in this like victim mentality. And after that, I was like, shit, like life is too short to feel this way. Like are we allowed to swear?
Yeah. Me on my podcast? The fuck?
Life is too short to feel this way. And it really just like made me want to go out there and just find myself again, because I felt like I really lost myself. Or honestly, I feel like I didn't really know myself. Like, you know, I kind of feel like throughout my life, I kind of went through like always being a high achiever, always performing, being a good student, being a good athlete, like always wanting to do super well at things, but having my worth based on my performance instead of like who actually I am and like, you know, the other things that I can bring to the world. So throughout that journey, it was like, that was my own self-discovery journey. Was like, after he passed, I started diving into just like, okay, what do I like? What do I want to do? What things make me happy? How do I connect with people? And I was so disconnected from myself that I had to first reconnect with myself to really be able to connect with others.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that's something a lot of people don't realize is like you can only connect with other people as deeply as you connect with yourself. So that was like really the catalyst from there. And I just like, there was a point I got to, I just like wasn't really happy with like my day to day. Like and it's like crazy to say because like I'm so grateful. Like I have a lot of privilege being able to start my own business, having the opportunities and like being able to do these other things and travel and like invest in a mentorship program. And at the end of the day, it still wasn't what I wanted. And like, I think a lot of people get caught up on thinking like, oh, well, it's not bad, you know? So it's like, I should be grateful for it. It's like, I am grateful. And also, like, it's not what I want, so I don't have to live that life. And like, we gaslight ourselves to think that like, oh, because it's not bad enough, like we should just stick with it or suck it up. But like, and that's something like I even like learned from my mentor on a podcast he talked about. It's like, you are literally gaslighting yourself. Like, you don't have to do what other people expect you to do or think you to do. You have to do what you want to do for yourself.
Yeah.
And so many people just like, you know, they don't know how to take that first step. And like, for me, that was all I knew how to do, was like, okay, just take the first step, invest in a mentor, and like, don't worry about what else is after that. And I think a lot of people get caught up in like, okay, well, I don't know how to do this, I don't know how to do this, if like it seems so far away and so unrealistic. And like, for me, it was more so like the feeling. I knew that like I had this feeling that it wasn't right. And I was like, let me take the first step and see where it goes. And like, that was kind of a lesson in itself of me like embracing the unknown for like the first time, because I always feared it so much. So yeah, going into that, started my mentorship program. And then, you know, from there, I just started connecting with a lot of really amazing entrepreneurs and other people in the health and wellness space, and just seeing the lifestyles that they had and the impact that they were making. And that's something that is so cool, because I've been able to learn, even just like, you know, I started off, I was a personal trainer, and then I started my meal prep business. And personal training is so much different than like being a coach. Like, being a coach, you're actually impacting somebody's life on the day to day, and like, you are helping them become a better person in all aspects of their life. And that's something that's like my main mission. It's not just like, okay, here's your workout program. It's like, let's help you become the best version of yourself.
Holistically.
Yeah, and everything's connected, your mind, your body, your soul. And like, I learned that myself. I used to be so like just fitness focused, no days off mentality, like, you know, work, like no rest, all this stuff. And then I got to a point where I'm like, this isn't sustainable. You know, it's like, if my mindset isn't right and I'm just working out at the gym, but I don't know how to communicate with people, and I don't know how to like actually speak about, you know, my needs and things that I want, like, that's not a healthy balance. Or if I'm not connected to myself, I don't know like who I am deep down, I have no soul connection. It's like, then it's like, it's all thrown off, you know? So I really dove into like more so like the spiritual aspect of things. I started getting into like doing certain practices myself, like meditation, breath work. And honestly, like, I really kind of isolated myself for a while, because I had to like figure out, instead of like avoiding my feelings and going to clubs or drinking or doing drugs or like just random hookups and all this stuff, like, I was like, I need to sit with this shit and I need to feel it, you know? Like, I can't just avoid it, because like, that's a thing. And like, a lot of people do, they just avoid the things that are consuming them or that they suppress, and then they never really fix them, or they never really heal from those things, you know? And I was like, there's a lot going on, and I just feel out of alignment. I just feel like this isn't it. So I'm like, I need to figure out what it is. And I'm a very determined person. If I have a feeling about things, like, I can't deny that feeling. So long story short, that's kind of how I got into it. And yeah, and then like from there, like, I've been very inspired by my mentor and a lot of people in my community, some of my friends that I've met, a women's retreat that I went on. You want me to tell that story?
Yeah. You should get into that, and we can get into it later too, because
Yeah.
I think you have an announcement that you want to make anyways,
Yeah.
in regards to your own maybe. But I think there's so much that you said. I mean, the introspection obviously is huge, and Connor Thompson and I sat here, did a podcast together, and we talked about sitting with yourself, doing monk mode, being alone.
Yeah.
And then people are so scared to like look in the mirror and be like, they're scared what they're gonna see back, you know? And it's the numbing of going out every weekend, which again, we're not judgmental. I mean, whatever anyone wants to do, but there's a lot of people that are unfulfilled right now that are looking for the next thing. And I mean, like, what advice would you give to them? Obviously, your journey is introspection. I sat with myself. I did the work. And obviously, I did a breathwork session with you, which was...
We'll talk about that.
Yeah, well, I mean, that was like the craziest thing ever. But
Yeah,
well, I mean, what advice would you give to someone who's kind of just unfulfilled, lost, like looking for...
Yeah, I mean, if you're feeling that way, like, you need to be specific about what it is that you want in your
Clarity.
life. Like, you can't have what you desire if you're not specific. If you just, even for example, if you're like, okay, like, I want to have a boyfriend, or, you know, I want to have a relationship, like, I want to have a partner. Okay, what qualities do you want your partner to have? Like, literally write out the exact qualities you want them to have. And it, you know, people aren't perfect by any means, but it's about like finding that partnership. And then once you have those specifics out there, you know, okay, like, if it's not this, it's not for me. And you are allowed to be specific. Like, you are allowed to have requirements, not just like relationship wise, but in everything, you know, and your workplace environment and your lifestyle, the people who you're around, like your environment, like, you're allowed to have those. And it's really believing that you're worthy. But some people, it's like they're in a place where they're so unfulfilled, or they're so used to just the day to day waking up and like feeling okay, like I'm okay, where they don't even know what being worthy is, you know? So I would say the first step is being specific, like being super specific, and like literally something that's changed my life. I recorded my vision. And so sometimes it's hard for people to be specific too. And that just means that you do have that disconnect with yourself.
Yeah.
And once I sat with myself and I wrote down like, okay, this is exactly how I want my life to be, my vision for everything, like financially, for partnership, for family, for just the lifestyle I have, what I do when I wake up in the morning, how I make people feel. I wrote that down, long paragraph. I recorded it on my phone in my voice notes, and then I listened to it every morning.
Yeah.
So when I wake up in the morning, I start my day, and I think this is a game changer for anyone. Like I really think, I know you need to start your day with yourself. Don't wake up, go to your phone, start scrolling. It's like you're inviting, and I know, like, I think Jay Shetty said this before. It's like you're inviting all these people into your bedroom by going on your phone before you even give anything to yourself. So for me, like, I sleep with my phone in a different room. When I wake up, first thing I do, drink some water, grab my headphones, I go outside and meditate. I listen to my vision, and then I'll do, like, it's easier the more you do it too. Like 10 to 20 minutes of just breathing and just sitting with myself and feeling into my body. The thing is, people are just disconnected from their body. Yeah. Like, it's just total disconnection from their body. They don't even know. It's like, you know, we have all these physical symptoms. Like, people will break out in a rash, or you're having inflammation or bloating and this and that. And they're like, oh, that's how it is. It's like that. But that's your body communicating to you. And majority of people are disconnected from their body. And if they actually listen to it, they would realize you're in a state of survival. You know, like, your body is not thriving. You are surviving. So that's the biggest thing. It's like really like going inward, reconnecting to your body. There's lots of different practices you can do. Meditation, you can do breath work. Breath work I highly recommend. It's the most life-changing experience that I've ever been through and went through. And like, I could talk more about that. I'm a breath work facilitator. I just got into that in the last like 6 months myself. I know you know this because I did one for you, but it is a deeper form of meditation. So it's not necessarily like sitting there calmly breathing. You are doing some work. You're getting
it is
into
breath work.
Yes, it's breath work. The first 5 to 10 minutes are hard, but the end result is a lot of clarity, a lot of presence, a lot of just connection with self, a lot of feeling into your body. Everyone's experience is so different, you know, but it's like a lot of releasing. It's like a whole journey of releasing, letting go, feeling. Keyword here, feeling, allowing yourself to feel, because most people don't. They just suppress everything and they don't feel it. They numb themselves. That's why they're doing all these things. But yeah, so it's like diving into yourself, allowing yourself to be present, you know, like actually being present. Like that's like where the disconnect is. People aren't present. They don't know how to feel, and they're just kind of stuck because of that. They don't even know any other way. So it's like just sitting with yourself, I think, is probably the most important thing you can do, and looking into these different practices that are going to allow you to connect to yourself more.
Yeah. So well said. And I think one of the biggest things is people are not used to just sitting there and just being like with themselves. And that's what meditation is. It's like with thyself, you know, and same with breath work. I mean, it was the most, I guess I would say, like, exhilarating experience, because obviously you're putting in that work and you're like, you're like, sit your ass back down. I was like,
you were trying to get up.
This,
yeah,
Riley.
literally. No, I've had a few people like, actually, there's only one. You and my mom were the only people that were like, I've had in person that tried to get up during it. And I was like,
get your ass back down. Yeah.
I'm literally coaching you through it, because I'm like, I know it's hard. You know, it's like people don't want to feel that. They don't want to feel uncomfortable.
Right.
Like, God forbid somebody feels uncomfortable. It's like, oh, I don't want to do that. It's uncomfortable. It's hard. But it's like, that's the point. The more uncomfortable things you do, the more you're going to grow.
Absolutely.
If you run from the uncomfortable stuff, it's like you're never going to get to the other side of that.
Yeah. And then also like the fulfillment and, you know, just the achievement that you feel on the other end. But it was so blissful, like when you're coming out of that state and you're taking those, it's like walking a lap after you just ran a couple miles. You know what I mean? It's just like, okay,
like a runner's high.
You do have that runner's high where you're just sitting there and you're like, just take as long as you need. And I'm sitting there like, I don't even know if I'm on earth anymore, you know,
your
but
body's floating
literally. So, but it was super powerful. And I would like to see it a lot more often with people nowadays, to not numb and distract themselves from their internal issues. Because again, if you're trying to create your life, and you talked about this, I talk about this all the time, is clarity, writing out who you want to be, what you want your life to look like. And I say, like, you have the best captain, the best pilot around. If there's no map, they don't know where to go, you know, so you have to have clarity, you have to have vision. And I mean, if you don't have that and you don't heal from, you know, the things that really bother you on a deeper level, no matter what good comes in your life, no matter what vibration, frequency you're gonna self-sabotage
Yeah.
because you haven't really like
Yeah.
been introspective enough to heal and grow and become aware of your downfalls, you know?
And at the end of the day, it's like everybody, who you are today is a byproduct of everything you've been conditioned throughout your life, your childhood, unless or until you take the time to actually heal from that if it wasn't a good experience. You know, it's like we learn stuff from our parents, we learn stuff from the people we're around, and you are going to continue to be that person or have those triggers or have those traumas until you heal them and release them and let certain things go, let the resentment go, let the fear go, let the anger go. Like if you had a parent, you're modeling their behavior of, you know, like scarcity with money, you know, if they've always been someone who struggles like that, you're going to model that until you heal that. And a lot of people do it like in relationships and financials and like work environment, you know, and it's like, that's a really big piece is like how you are and how you're affected by things is because of how you were treated as a child, you know, and like, there's a lot of people where it's like our parents, you know, God bless them, but like they didn't really know what they were doing. None of them go to therapy. None of them know how to communicate. Like the amount of what generation is that? Like
The baby boomers.
Yeah, like
they're just tough, stubborn.
they don't really,
you know?
they don't really know how to actually like feel and communicate. It's like, and their parents were even worse. It's like they were, you know, like dealt with a lot of like alcoholics and different things like that. And those generations, so it's like they never got the love that they needed. So then when it was their turn to give the love, they did the best that they could. Not everybody, you know, but it's like a lot of them didn't really even know how to show their love because they never got it. So it's like almost like it's our job to like heal ourselves for our families and for those generations. And that's been like a big mission for me. It's like I'm healing myself for my future generations, you know?
Of course.
Like, we have the power to do that. It's just a matter of like going inward and doing the work and like feeling all those painful moments and like realizing like, oh, this is why I am the way that I am, and that's okay. And we're never going to be perfect, but there's always work that you can do to improve, you know?
So what was the first thing in your life that you really started to battle where you're like, okay, I want to change this. I know that happiness lies on the other side, but I have to get through this.
Yeah, like one of just like my biggest obstacles.
Yeah, like early on.
Yeah, I would say like honestly like a big realization I've had in the last like year would be like my relationship. There's a couple things, like my relationship with men, and also that kind of impacting a lot of things. So I'd say like let's start there. Like I feel like I had a masculine wound that I wasn't aware of, meaning like I never really truly felt safe around men, and I was never like, you know, harmed or anything like that. And well, that's a different story. But yeah, it was more so like I realized I didn't really grow up with a safe emotional like space in my like father, my stepfather, anything like that. Like love them dearly, but like my dad wasn't around that much, and so he never really provided that masculine safety for me. My stepdad has done so much for us, but like on an emotional level, we never really had that emotional connection, and I never really felt emotionally safe to express how I felt about things. It was more so like, oh, like I'm fearful, I don't want to get in trouble, I don't want to say the wrong thing, and like that was manifesting in my dynamics with other men, just like friendship wise or like, you know, relationship wise and stuff like that. And I realized that I was very avoidant of males and avoidant of men and just that way, and kind of looked at like the mentality of like, oh, like I don't need a man, I'm a strong independent
You were
woman.
alpha female and I used to mess with you all the time. I'm like, alpha female fucking
I know,
right.
and
Like,
you would get mad about it too. I was like, what? Because I'm tougher than you. But that also is like a, you know, direct reflection of like my mom was that way. So like I was modeling her behavior because she was always that strong feminine woman where she, you know, she did all these things by herself. So I saw that. I'm like, oh, I can do that too. Or like, I don't need a man. So that was definitely a challenge for me because, you know, it's like at the end of the day, I think men and women are beautiful in their own ways and we complement each other in their own ways. But like, I always kind of felt, was like, oh, like, why do I struggle so much to like find a partner? Or like, if I am talking to a guy, like why is this like, so why am I so resistant to this, or like why am I struggling? And I realized it's like I never really learned, first of all, like how to communicate in a healthy way and like talk about my needs, talk about my boundaries. Like that was like it. Like I didn't have any boundaries for a while. I like didn't know how to communicate like what I needed, and like I was a constant people pleaser. So it's like I felt like I wasn't aligned because I was just people pleasing. I like had all these suppressed like things I wanted to say or how I felt, and I didn't know how to express them. Like for a lot of my life, I would say like I just like kept it all in. I didn't express it. And it was funny because I'm a very emotional person. I'm a Pisces, and like, I'm emotional. But for so long, I was like not emotional. I was like kind of a bitch.
When? Because that wasn't the Riley that I knew.
Like probably like, well, it got to a point. Actually, my mom even said one time, she's like, I don't know what it was. You got to a point. You used to be this like happy, like fun, like girl, and then all of a sudden it got to a point and you just kind of like weren't anymore. And honestly, I think that kind of also stems back to like just like women in general, and like the pressure that we have to look a certain way or be a certain way. And like, like I talked about, like I had eating disorder when I was younger, so it was like overcoming that. And I think like fear of people's opinions. It's like I had an eating disorder in middle school, and like that was what inspired me to get into the health and wellness field, get into fitness, because like I didn't know what I was doing. I was doing P90X and Insanity in my mom's basement like 2 times a day. I was severely under eating. Like I literally wrote like resist on my wrist because I was like trying to be skinny, because my sisters had rock hard abs. They did gymnastics and I played soccer, and I was like a little bit more like stocky, whatever in middle school. It's like I really wasn't. You look back, but
for sure.
So it's like I got to a place where I was like very unhealthily skinny and had a very unhealthy relationship with food and just mindset. And then once I started getting into lifting, actually, like I started to see my body change, and I was like, oh, I actually like this, and this is fun. And then I wanted to learn how to do it the right way. I wanted to learn how to fuel myself the right way. I wanted to feel good, and then I wanted to help others do the same. So that was like the catalyst that got me into that. But circling back to your main question, I would say like just really realizing that like I didn't have that like safe masculine in my life, and like that kind of like I kept myself small because of that, because I was almost like afraid to express how I felt because I didn't know how the other person would respond.
For sure. Yeah. And it makes a lot of sense. You brought up a good point. I'm trying to think exactly what you said, but basically,
notes out here.
Yeah, I know. I'm like, there's so much. I'm like, after
like,
10 minutes of talking, what did she say?
Gotta circle back. I know. I'm like, hold on. We asked a different question, and I'm like, wait, this is a good topic.
For sure. No, there's so much, and it's like that's why I wanted to get you on the podcast, obviously for a long time, but really just childhood programs and really those formidable years that make up who you are as a man or a woman, and then that kind of flows into your relationships and your daily life, and you taking accountability. And people think that coaches are just perfect. Obviously, like I have a genetic condition that like affected me super bad. We've talked about that. And from then, it's kind of the same as you, like with an eating disorder. You're like, I don't want anyone else to feel like that. I want them to know that they can take control over their life, that they have, more power over designing their future, that they want to create and manifesting that instead of, living in your limiting beliefs, living in your programs. They may be hard to push through, but you're able to kind of design and break those barriers too. And that's what I love. And for everyone in the family, for every like generation of family, there's always like that one person that completely flips it. And
the alchemist.
It's like, there you go. But
and it's honestly, like you said, like creating your life by design, like that's something where it's like so many people don't understand that they have full control over doing that. I think that's the biggest mindset gap for people, is like there's a lot of people who are in the victim mentality of not wanting to take accountability for anything. It's always like, this always happens to me, or so-and-so did this. It's like, well, once you actually look yourself in the mirror, you realize you are the only one that can control like anything that happens to you, control who's around you, control what happens to you. Yes, there's certain situations you can't control, but you still have control in that with how you react and respond. So it's like, the biggest thing is people don't want to take accountability. They want to stay in this victim mentality, or they want to stay around people who enable them to stay there as well. Oh, it's okay. Like, you're fine. Don't try to do better. So it's like, once you start to grow and outgrow that group of people, that's when people don't like that. And they try to keep you small, and they try to reel you back in. Because once you're not in it anymore, they're like jealous. It gets to a point where there's people who like, not everyone wants to see you win. It's like, there's people where it's like, hey, we support each other. Great. It's always like, I'm all for collaboration over competition, especially in women. And also there's a lot of people who don't want to see you win because they're miserable and they don't like themselves and they don't like their lives that they have. And also it's sad because they have full control. We all have full control. And like, that's a big thing as a coach that I teach. It's like, if someone's going through a certain situation or experience, it's like, okay, what can we control in this situation? How can we make this better? It's not going to stay this way forever. Whatever you're going through, it's temporary if you decide to change. It's like, it's just a matter of actually taking that step.
For sure. And that's well said. And I know you said, as far as women, what do you think the standards are for beauty and like how it affects women these days? I think you're the perfect person to ask because when you have like an eating disorder, things like that, I can imagine it's like the pressure of society.
Yeah, and it's honestly crazy because like my mindset around health and wellness has changed so much even since I was younger. It was like always about like, being, when I was younger, it's like the standards change all the time. It's like you want to be super skinny, and then it's like, oh, curves are in, and it's like, okay, back to being skinny. Oh, everyone wants to have like a big butt. It's like, so it's like it goes back and forth, and it's honestly like, for me, my standard is like more so feeling good now versus like how I look. Yes, how you look is a byproduct of how you treat yourself. So it's like naturally, if you treat yourself well, you are going to look well. You're going to look good. And it's like there's so many misconceptions, I think, about like the health and wellness industry is kind of fucked up, to be honest. It's like there's the bodybuilding industry, and then there's all these other things where it's like people think that their worth is based on how they look. And honestly, for a while, like that was a realization I had too. It's like I based my worth on how I looked. I thought like, oh, because I'm in shape, I have a good body, I always have to maintain this, and like if I don't, or if I feel like I look a certain type of way, then people aren't going to accept me as much, or I'm not going to keep the status I have as like having a good body or this and that, and it's sad, like I've gone back and given that version of myself love so many times because it was insecurity. And it's like, it is sad that it's like that's conditioned in us, because it's like as a woman growing up, you see these models, you see these women who are praised for their looks, for having big tits, for having a big ass, for having a small waist. So then it's like, if I don't have that, it's like, oh, what's wrong with me? Like, are people not going to like me if I don't look that way? And I think it's like very harmful for younger women, especially now with social media, and it's like all the filters, all the, like, I don't use filters on social media. I haven't used a filter probably since 2020, where like I used to be like, oh, I need to hide my face. And now I'm like, I want to embrace how I actually look, and like, I'm all about like, good skincare, good facials, this and that, because it's like, I want to keep myself looking fresh. But like, it's sad to me when someone is using a super heavy filter, because that means that they don't actually like how they look, and it's like we all have imperfections. There's things that I like pick myself apart for still. It's like, like also like the standard of like having perfect skin. It's like there's times where like one of my biggest insecurities I would say is like if my skin isn't good, and like if I have like a broken out like or acne or something like that, and it sucks, like someone going through that. It's like if you've ever experienced it, like you don't feel your most confident. You want to hide, you want to stay inside. And it, it's so sad because that doesn't make you any less of a person. Like all this being said, like how you look doesn't make you any less of a person. It's who you are in the inside, how you make people feel, like I had to realize that it's like your body should be the least interesting thing about you. I'll say that again. Your body should be the least interesting thing about you. And like one of my friends said that actually on the retreat that I was on, and I was like, like I needed to hear that, because it's like even as women we go through periods where like maybe we get injured, or like we've been so go for so long, and like as women we need more rest than men, and our bodies will start to tell us that at a certain point, or just like throughout our cycles, and like when we need to rest. Like I'm not able to work out 7 days a week anymore, lift, like I can move, but like lift heavy 7 days a week anymore. Like I used to do that in high school. I would go to the gym like 2 days, this and that. But like as you get older as a woman, like you can't maintain that anymore, because like first of all it's not healthy, and second of all it's like we need more rest. And like the more I started prioritizing rest into my routine now, the better I feel. I'm actually listening to my body and like being more in tune with it, versus just working out because I didn't love myself and because I was trying to like burn things off, or think that like I wasn't allowed to, like if you eat off your diet, or if you are like not 100% on your plan the whole time, like that was like something that was like almost like debilitating, for me. Like I would go out and I would be like, have to eat different food than other people, I have to like go sneak off to do a workout, or like I'm late to, it's like all those things. It's like it prevents you from actually living your life and like just enjoying life, and it's really sad. So I would say, it's like a lot of the beauty standards for women is just like we're taught the wrong things. Instead of learning to like listen to our bodies and respect our bodies and love our bodies, we're taught to hate our bodies, or if we have a little bit more fat. And like honestly, I think like everybody is beautiful, everybody should love themselves. And also I think there are a lot of toxic things that go around like with certain movements as well, like the body positivity movement. Like I'm just gonna say, like this is controversial, but like that is a very unhealthy movement. Like you are telling people that being obese and having diabetes and having these health issues is okay.
It's beautiful.
And it's not even about like, it doesn't make you less of a person, but you are unhealthy. like you are going to get sick and you are probably going to die if you continue this lifestyle. It's about the lifestyle habits, and
For
that's
sure.
something I'm very passionate about. There's a lot of other people I talk to in my circle that believe this as well, and it's just like crazy to me that, you know, like people are, and it's, you know, it's all just for, you know, money and these different things, but it's crazy to me that people are promoting this sickness. It's like, it's literally a sickness when somebody is so unhealthy that, you know, they're creating these diseases in their body. And that's something for me, it's like, that's unhealthy in itself. So it's like, there's so many misconceptions about what is healthy too, you know?
For
And
sure.
it's like, everyone wants to be accepted. Yes. Like you should be accepted. And also you should take care of yourself. Like taking care of yourself, like moving your body is like the baseline for like what you need to do in your life. Like if you can't take care of yourself, like you're going to have a really hard time doing other things in your life.
So you brought up so many good points. First of all, I don't care if it's controversial or not. You are completely unhealthy, you know, and there's one thing to be said is like, I love myself no matter what.
Yeah.
I'm happy. And there's different instances where like hyperthyroid, you know what I mean? Like people have different diseases and things like that where, you know, possibly they can't lose
Yeah,
weight and
some
stuff
people
like that.
might actually have underlying issues, but
Well-
it's like a lot of issues are created.
Yeah, but when it's reiterated and like obviously I'm a fireman and paramedic, but
Yeah.
we go into these people's houses and you want to talk about victim mentality where it's like Diet Coke bottles everywhere, ramen noodles,
Literally.
and they're like, God, so I always have to call 911 because I get sick, and it's just like the introspection again. I mean, they never take the time to realize maybe I need to look around in my life and see that I am my biggest problem right now.
Yeah.
That if my lifestyle choices didn't, I mean, there's nothing to be said about it. I mean, they have to look at it and be like, I am ruining my life right now by the choices that I'm making. But 2019, I had started lifting. I played football, wrestled, sports my whole life, same as you. But again, I mean, it was like with the genetic condition, it was like, all right, I'm just gonna slap on as much as possible, like as much muscle as possible, because I'm broken and insecure inside. I have this big hole inside that I need to like layer on
Yeah,
muscle.
armor.
Exactly. And I was 30 pounds heavier than I am
Yeah.
right now, and I was always hitting the weights and everything. And then when my diet changed, just due to just a lot, like I ruined my gut health. My skin was breaking out all the time,
Yeah.
and I was overall just like unhealthy. Like you can see the inflammation in my skin all the time. So I got on more of like raw food, like plant-based with some lean meats and
Yeah, you
things like
talked
that.
about that,
Yeah. So I lost a bunch of weight, but again, it was so freeing because you are this person that has like had this muscle. You are known, identified by that. But I remember especially missing a meal or missing a workout on a day, and it would ruin.
Stressful,
You'd be
like
out, like
chaos.
yeah, you'd go out that night and you'd be like, I'm a piece of shit. But
Yeah.
you're fueled by insecurity and you're fueled
Yeah.
by self-hate to get in the gym. Like that's your motivation. Like what are you gonna be, a loser today? And it's
Yeah.
just. But once you get into that point, that's where the real freedom is, where it's intrinsically, and I talk about this all the time. I'm so annoying with the word, but intrinsically, like you said,
Connection.
that's it. I mean, exteriorly, like you can be aesthetic. Obviously, we're holistic coaches,
Yeah.
so I mean, it's part of it is moving your body, feeling good about yourself. But if you are valuing yourself just based on how you look externally, you have a big problem. You have a huge problem. So growing, building skills, building up your character,
Yeah.
building up your genuineness, your love for yourself, that's just gonna pour into everybody else and all your relationships.
Yeah.
You know.
It really just comes back to like the more you help yourself, the more you can help other people. If you're broken, if you have all these issues, it's like you're not able to, you can't pour from an empty cup. Like
I was just gonna say it.
this.
Yeah. So I love it, but I mean, where are you going now with your functional health and wellness? Correct.
Yeah, so talking about that a little bit, I'm super excited for that. I'm in the program right now, finishing everything up. So there's 3 levels. With that, it's super cool because it's something I've always been super passionate about, and like why I even started my meal prep is like when I started getting into just like understanding food and how it affects your body, like I became very obsessed with ingredients and understanding like what the quality of ingredients were that were good for you and ones that weren't for you. And I started learning a lot about seed oils and preservatives and all this stuff. And like that's another big just like topic that I'm super passionate about, is how fucked up our food system is. I mean, healthcare system, yes, too, but also the food system. You know, it's like the majority of the food in the grocery stores is pretty much poison. It's like these seed oils, canola oil, sunflower oil, peanut oil, all this stuff. It's like so inflammatory for the body. It's so highly processed, literally not even supposed to be for humans. Like there's all these videos that show the canola oil that they used to use this for like motors for cars. And then they started putting it into food and they're like, oh, we realized we can make money off of it. It's cheaper than the good healthy oils. So like we're just gonna give it to people, and then it makes things last longer on the shelves. Like the reason why your food it can last for 5 years is because there's so much shit in it. There's so many preservatives in it, and I just see people like just eating these, and they make them addictive. There's even a book that talks about like the perfect ratio for like sugar, fat, and it might be oil or something too. I know oil's fat, so something else. But there's like these three things: the perfect ratio to make the food addicting, and that's how the food is in the U.S. And it's so crazy to me because there's so many people that are just like default, like just go to the store, get this, buy this, eat this. They don't have any second thought or intention. It's like that's the thing. So many people are intentional about what they're putting in their body, what they're consuming, like anything that they do, and that's why like they are the way they are. But like that is something I'm so passionate about is like ingredients, and like through just my own journey with that, I've been able to like heal a lot of like inflammatory like issues that I had gut health wise and body wise, and like everything is linked to our gut health, you know, like our brain health, our body, everything. It's like when you're having all these different issues in your body, it can be solved by what you're eating, and people just don't get that.
Yeah.
They just want to like turn the blind eye, or like, oh, they think healthy eating is hard, or it's gonna taste bad, or it's boring, or you know, it's difficult. But it's like anything that you do that's worth it is gonna take a little bit of effort. Like people just don't want to have any effort for anything that they do. They just want to be spoon fed everything. But it's like that was a big catalyst, like really learning about ingredients and learning how harmful our food system was. I dove deep into that and realized, like doing my own research, like, okay, this is what's good for you, this is what isn't good for you. And then this program takes it a step further too. It allows me to learn more about specifics, because it's like everybody's gut microbiome is different, you know? So it's like this food could be a healthy food, but it could be affecting you a certain way because you have no tolerance to it. So this will allow me to be able to understand women's hormones specifically too, and like being able to help them through their hormone issues, thyroid, adrenals, all that stuff, and like understand like, okay, what's not functioning right. And I'll be able to read and administer different kinds of tests, like gut tests and hormone tests and things like that. So like we can see specifically, this is what's happening in your body. Here's the protocol based on your needs to help you pretty much feel your best. You know, like we'll work through that, and we'll be able to build a plan directly for you. So like throughout that program, like I did a lot of research to figure out which one was best. And this one's like very highly accredited. It's called Metabolic Mentor University, and there's the 3 different levels. So it's like an 8-month program, super intensive. And so like I'm getting into that right now, finishing that off, and just really able to understand like how to work through each phase as well. Because a lot of people also don't understand. It's like they want to do all these diets, and then the thing is it's not sustainable. And like a big just like part of my life is creating your habits into a lifestyle. Like with everything you do, it's like if you can create your habits into a lifestyle, it's not hard anymore. It's just habitual. It's something you do. You wake up, this is me. And a lot of people, they look at healthy food, they look at working out, they look at all these things as quick. They want a quick fix. You know, they want it now. I want to be skinny. I want it now. I want to look good. I want to do it now. I have something coming up. But the thing is, if you were just taking care of your body consistently, you wouldn't have to rush. You wouldn't have to try to do this. So it's like, you know, there's all these things that they're giving out now, like Ozempic, these weight loss pills, these things that like they're not allowing you to be the person to maintain that body because you're not creating the habit. So it's like maybe you drop all this weight, but you're never going to actually be able to maintain that. You're gonna have to keep taking this pill. You're gonna have to keep taking this injection or substance because you don't have the tools, you know, to live the life as that person. You only have the quick fix. So who are you without that? You're gonna go back to still doing the same things, you know, and that's the issue that we're seeing nowadays is like people just don't understand that is like you can't just get a quick fix out of everything. Like the results that you want take months and years, literally years. It's like even how I am now in my own health journey. It's like I never thought I would even be like as strong as I am, like have the physique I have, but I've just been consistent. And I'm like, oh, results really do show. You know, it's like not even just on the physical aspect, like work-wise, mindset-wise, like everything we do in our day-to-day, it's like all based on those consistent efforts over time where it's like the things that people don't see, you know? So it's like, it's really crazy to think about like how one thing, like just getting into like, you know, focusing on ingredients and focusing on quality of food, it's like that affects like literally your whole life and how you feel on a day-to-day basis. So that's something that's been just like a big part of, you know, my growth in this industry is just like really getting educated on everything so I can help people feel the best that they can and like find the specific things that are best for them in their life to help them feel their best.
That's amazing. I think that's my favorite part about just being like a holistic health and wellness coach is that's all encompassing. It's not just one thing. It is you're taking their life, you're kind of like ripping it inside out, and you're like this, and this is what we're gonna implement. These are the new habits. This is the lifestyle.
Yeah.
And I don't ever call it a diet. I don't let my clients call it a diet either, because it's a very small part of your transformation journey. And there's a quote that I love that says, "Then which you do not hate, you will eventually tolerate," which is probably one of my favorite things. And then when I was 11 years old, when I found out about this genetic condition, same as you, I became absolutely obsessed with what was on food labels, what I was putting in my body, researching, trying to find my own cure, trying to find my own treatment. And really, it was the same thing where you become so empowered yourself. There's not a victim mentality where you're like, this is just what I'm dealing with. This is just what I have to deal with. You're like, no, I mean, there's something out there that I can do. I can take it into my own hands. This is not in my desired dream life. This is not what I want to deal with. Yeah. And then you become empowered to help other people. But it comes because the thing that you deal with, I mean, the catalyst, like, for instance, having an eating disorder, your dad passing away, those are the things where it's like, this is the journey, like the dark night of the soul, like where you're going to walk this dark path. But on the other side, you're going to become a much stronger, much more wise version of yourself. And then with that, I mean, you're really limitless at that point because of your growth. But a lot of people are just settling for, there's a pill for that. There's a quick fix for that. Yeah. And then they're becoming weaker and weaker and less in control.
Yeah, exactly. It's like there's some accounts I follow on Instagram. You follow like Carnivorious or, one account. He's always posting. It's like showing comparisons of people too. And it's sad because it's like people on the beach in like 1920s or 1950s, people at the beach now. It's like not one overweight person, it's like everybody's sexy and like tan and fit and all this. And it's like, now it's like the majority of the people are sick and unhealthy and overweight, and it's like back to like, it's not about you being overweight doesn't have anything to do with your worth. It has everything to do with your health and your habits and your well-being, and like, that's not, you're not setting an example for your children or the people around you. And it's just like, it's literally like, to me, I'm like, do they just want everybody to die? Like, it's just like population control or what? Because it's like, the stuff that they put in our foods should not even be called food. It's not even edible, It's crazy to me.
So, I mean, if we can go conspiracy for a quick second, because I was watching a video the other day, and so they're basically saying that like the tobacco industry, people started to catch on to like cigarettes and things like that. So they moved their fun, and I'm not saying this is true. I'm just saying I'm a conspiracy theorist, but saying that they moved like their research into the Food and Drug Administration instead. So they studied basically what are humans addicted to when it comes, and your brain lights up when it's like fat, sugar, salt, I believe. And so then they made all these foods, and they said there was some stat where it was like 80% of the foods on the shelves now didn't exist like 40 years ago.
They didn't.
And it makes up a big difference, but people are getting sick. Then what happens? They go to the doctor, they get treatment there. I mean, it's just all
hospital bills ringing up, like they just want your money.
That's it. So then when you put people, I get this is controversial, but when you put people on billboards that are like, love yourself, like don't fat shame, like all this other stuff. And I don't say this as like to be disrespectful, but it's like, if you love yourself no matter what, that's amazing. If you
loved yourself, you would take care of yourself.
That's what I'm leaning towards.
Period.
But not everybody has that desire to improve or look better, feel better. Some people are extremely okay with how their life is, and that which you did not hate, you will eventually tolerate, So everyone needs that catalyst.
Yeah. And it's like not everyone's meant to be the main character though. It's like we need the little background people too as well. It's like some people are just gonna be okay with doing the day-to-day and doing the normal things and being comfortable and complacent, and like that's okay, but if you are somebody who does want to go above and beyond and create the life that you want, you have full control and the ability to do so as well. So it's like those people that want to do that, that's fine. Like we're not hating on you by any means. It's just like if you are someone who wants to change, like you can. It's just a matter about looking around in your environment, who you're surrounding yourself with, like the habits that you have. It's like things that hold you back. It's either your past, your pattern, or people. It's like if you allow your past to come into the present, it's like you always have like one hand behind you, one hand in front of you. So it's like you can never really move. You're stuck. And then it's like people, your environment. If like you have people around that are doing things that you don't want to be doing anymore and they're still around, it's like you're not going to be able to grow because you're allowing them to influence you. But like at the end of the day, it's like you still have control over that. It's like it's hard to cut people off when they've been in your life forever, but it's like if you want to grow and they're not doing the things that are helping you grow, you have to, say goodbye to that. And then it's like, what did I say? Your past, the people, and your pattern. Like your pattern too. It's like if you don't like reflect on like the habits that you have, it's like your things are stay in your life until you heal them. So it's like, you could be in a relationship and it's like you're going to go through the same cycle of like fighting and then being fine, fighting and not being fine until you figure out like, okay, what is my pattern here? It's like even for me, like I realized like I had a pattern of like not communicating my needs and then feeling insecure. It's like, okay, this is like I meant to heal this pattern so that I can grow, or it's like in a certain like relationship, it's like if it's toxic, it's like, okay, like I'm not meant to always be, if you're always in a toxic relationship, say it's like you've had 5 boyfriends or girlfriends or whatever, it's like, I just don't know. It's just, I'm always in a toxic relationship. It's like, okay, that's your pattern. Like, what do you need to learn from this lesson? Like once you learn from it, you can grow, you can let go. You don't have to be that person anymore, but like you have to look yourself in the mirror to do that.
Yeah. We were talking earlier. I mean, obviously limiting beliefs and that's a big factor. And then obviously childhood trauma, childhood programs, but we were talking about the equation that it's desire plus non-resistance equals desired result. Which I think is super powerful because basically it's saying like all you need to do is put out like energetically what do you want and then not have resistance to it. Like so you're like say like I want an amazing wife, but then all of a sudden you're like, well, like I have this going on or this going on. Well, like I don't really feel comfortable.
These limiting beliefs.
Exactly. So then energetically, I mean, the universe, it depends on how deep you want to get on it, but I know but the universe will be like, well, I don't know if this dude really wants it,
You have to put it out there without the but, just know that you're worthy of it and you desire it. I want this and it's going to happen. And like you could get as deep as saying like want is technically lack, so don't say the word want and say like I have this and say it as if you already have it, so it's like if you want to be that specific, you can do that too, because wanting means that you don't have it, and that's a lack mindset. So then you're attracting lack. Yeah. But also you can just say, you can say that, or you can say, I have this, I am this, I do this, and like speak it as if you already have it in this current moment.
I love it. And that's the truth. And it's the same thing with if you really want to change, if you want to implement change, if you're sick of how you're living, if you feel stuck, write out the person that you want to become. Yeah. Start living as that person, and you will most certainly be that person.
You have to be a little delulu. Until it's your reality.
100%.
Because at first people are going to say you're crazy, and then they're going to ask you how you did it.
Yeah, of course.
And then they're going to try to join you.
Every time. It never fails, too. Yeah. It's like, but who is your ideal client now? Like, who do you like to work with?
So my ideal client is honestly women, entrepreneurs, or just women who work a lot or kind of like big in their industries and their jobs, and are specifically going through and moving through a lot of burnout. And my goal is to help them get their glow back through setting them up with a specific regimen to look at their hormones, heal their gut health, heal their relationship with self, their mindset, and allow them to also like soften and be more in their feminine, because that's like a journey that I've been on, like being a girl boss in this and that, and like being super in my masculine and feeling like I always needed to perform and burning myself out like so many times. And then when you're in that place of burnout, it's like then you're in a whole nother negative mindset of like, oh, I'm not performing, I'm not doing it. But it's like your body literally cannot. Like your body is telling you, please rest, please stop. Like you are hurting me, So it's like those are the types of women that I want to help, because there's a lot out there who are highly overachieving, and they put all their worth in that, and they don't know how to actually just like soften and surrender. And like I'm still even working through my journey of that, It's like right now with this transition, that's a goal for me too, is like to not always have to be so go. It's like, yes, I'm still going to work hard. I'm going to have my goals. And also I want to find a partner, like a man to support me through that. It's like, I want to be able to find a partner to like provide for me, and where I can still work and do the things I love and achieve, but also have that support. And like, I want to help other women be able to do that too. So they're not the ones who are wearing the pants in the relationship and feeling they have to do all these things. But like specifically, like, it's like I went through a place of when I was so burnt out, it's like you feel just not your best self. You're not confident. You're not glowing. You're not radiant. And like when you do go inward and focus on yourself through slowing down and meditation and breath work and focusing on your hormones and the food that you're eating and like your daily habits, you're able to be the woman that you want to be. You're able to be confident in yourself because you're showing up for yourself instead of neglecting yourself. It's like so many people put themselves on the back burner. They do everything for everybody else, and then they are number 100. They're last, and like that's not how it should be. You should be number one so that when you put yourself first, you can achieve and you can give in all these other places. And we already talked about this, like you can't pour from an empty cup, but it's like there's so many people who do, but in general, like I feel strongly about helping women in that way just because I've experienced all of that. And like even just with helping them set boundaries and like being able to just really be honest with themselves about like what they want, helping them achieve that. Because I think too, especially as women, and then just like a pattern in my family, I would say, like just looking at women in different relationships is like, I feel like a lot of the women in my kind of like generations were limited by what they could do because they were too dependent on a man, where like if they had their own independence and they had their own vision and they believed in themselves more and like took care of themselves more, they would have been able to create a different life for themselves. But they almost were fearful because they needed that financial support, so it's like helping women too. It's like even women who want to get out of the corporate jobs and the 9-to-5s and be able to create the lives that they want. That's like a later down the road goal for me, is to like help women in that way, like create their own businesses, create their own life. It's like starting with the health aspects. It's like when you start there, then it's like, that once you take care of yourself, you're able to function in all these other ways and like work smarter, not harder. It's like really like long story short, like work smarter, not harder, but like helping like burnt out women really get their glow back and really just become the best versions of themselves spiritually, mentally, physically, on all aspects, and be empowered in the decisions that they make and trust themselves and trust their bodies too, like really going inward and learning about your body and learning how to trust your body and listen to it instead of always being in your head so much. Does that make sense?
Yeah, 100%. What's ironic because one, I mean, I love the clarity on it, but two, my like ideal client, a lot of people that I work with who I set out when I was like writing my blueprint and things like that. And I went to like Punta Cana by myself, like on a solo trip. My childhood best friend passed away. And that was like one thing where it's like, you want to talk about catalyst, where it's like, I understand that life is insanely short. So I'm going to go ahead and go full force on this. Like, but when I was writing it all out, I was like, who do I want to work with? And at that time I was, working for a mortgage company and still do, but I was just so burned out between being a fireman and a mortgage loan officer. And I'm like, young professionals that are burned out, or entrepreneurs in general, not necessarily young professionals, but professionals, people that have spent more time working on their business or their careers and really have like let themselves go to the point where it's like making them feel. You want to talk about glow for women? Yeah. It's the same thing, like just making men thrive again. Yeah. You know what I mean? Where it's implementing new habits, new wellness routines, things like meditation, breath work eventually, but to get them back to a good starting point.
Yeah, and I think for that, it's like a lot of men, it's like they lose their masculinity when they stop taking care of themselves.
Yeah.
Like, as a woman, like I want a man who's taking care of himself. Like he takes himself to the gym, he eats right, he knows how to communicate effectively, like he's an emotionally supportive person in your life. It's like women don't want a man who make them feel unsafe, and that's like a big realization that I had. It's like I have to first give myself that safety before I can get it from someone else, because I need to know what that looks like. So it's like now that I have given myself that safety, I know how to ask for it, and if it's reciprocated or not, I can make that decision if I want to stay. But I think a lot of women don't know that, and they also kind of like mirror like maybe what their relationship was like with their father, or like in their families. But it's like women want to feel safe, and it's like I know there was for so long it's like women power, this and that, and like also like we're tired. It's like us working girls, like we're tired. It's like we still want to work hard, but also at the end of the day, it's like having a partner that supports you through it. It's like sometimes I see like people who are in relationships, like healthy relationships, and it's like that's awesome. Like when you're going through a hard time, you have someone to support you, you have someone to be there for you, like in both sides. Like the women, like if a man has a good woman by his side, like he's going to grow even more. It's like all you have to do as a man is nurture the woman, make her feel safe, and take care of her and provide, and she will help you grow. So it's like a beautiful a beautiful dynamic and balance in that way, which it's like I think there's a lot more unhealthy dynamics than healthy ones, but there are the models that you can look at and see like, okay, this is how it's meant to be, and know that like you can have that for yourself too. But like, yeah, like that's amazing and beautiful that you want to help men in that way too, because I think even just like the mental aspect of it, it's like I'm curious like for you what your experience has been, but it's like a lot of men base their worth also on like how much money I'm making or like the material
100%.
things they have.
Yeah.
And it's like also like how I say about women, it's like your body isn't like your worth. Is like same with men, like your money isn't your worth, like your materials aren't your worth. Like yes, you should still like work hard and stuff like that, but like I also still like, even though I help women, I want men to feel happy. I want men to feel safe to express themselves emotionally, feel safe to like be vulnerable. And like that's like one of the sexiest things for a woman is like when a man can express himself, like not too much where you're being like, crying all
Like,
the
dude,
time.
are you the girl or am I?
Yeah, but like at the end of the day, like expressing your needs too in a way that's safe, not, not toxic, yelling this and that, but like being able to be vulnerable about your struggles and your insecurities. That's something that women really enjoy. Like if a man goes to therapy, we're like, okay, like hello, like
Yeah.
it's like things like that, like seeing that men are doing the work and like you being able to help them do the work is amazing because more men need that, and like even just like, I'm all about my women and stuff, but like men's like, mental health is like very important as well. So that's awesome that you're diving into that
I
more.
appreciate that, Robbie. Yeah, I think I don't know. I'm more so curious to hear what your thoughts are on like the social disconnect of dating and being a female entrepreneur and being like a strong woman who's wise and you know what I mean, like knows what she wants. I mean,
Yeah, so like in terms of social disconnect, what do you mean exactly?
so I mean to clarify, I mean necessarily you said it best where it's what do women want today? And ideally it's men want a woman with like a great figure, like aesthetic looks,
Yeah.
and sometimes I mean I think it's shifting more towards just more traditional values
Yeah.
in general.
Yeah.
I think a lot of men are starting to wake up to that, and
Yeah.
especially with like the OnlyFans like shit, and it's just like I hope men are waking up to the bullshit. But and then it seems like women in this day and age want a guy who makes a lot of money, can give
Yeah.
them a lot of things that they couldn't get anywhere else, like whether it's like VIP or bottle service
Yeah,
or
yeah,
things
yeah.
like that. But I think we're a little bit different
Yeah,
in that
for
realm.
sure.
We want a lot for our lives and we want to give a lot to our partners, but what do you think is like the biggest disconnect these days?
Yeah, I
because
mean,
there's not gelling.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's like there's like obviously on both ends of the spectrum, the very extremes. It's like the girls who just want to get their nails done, they want to get everything paid for, they don't want to move their bodies, don't want to lift a finger, they just want to be taken care of in that way, which that's fine. But also realize that like the guy probably isn't gonna treat you right. Like if he's just your ATM, like you're not gonna get the emotional support that you need, So I think there's like the extremes that way, and then there's the men who it's like they might only look at a woman for her body and for the physical aspect and for the sex, and it's like obviously like you're not gonna be fully fulfilled in that way either. And I think like on both ends, those are just the people who are kind of on a lower consciousness level of being disconnected from themselves and not actually knowing what their true values are. So it's like they just look at each other as, oh, that's the opposite sex. Like we're meant to breed. We're meant to, just have the physical connection aspect. But I think it's really beautiful when you can get to the level of consciousness where you know that it's like more of a soul connection and more of a deeper connection than just the physical. Like even for me for so long, like I kind of like looked at men in that way, like, oh, if he's a guy, like, should I see if I'm attracted to him, like me, like because he's a guy, like that means that like maybe there's some kind of connection in that way. But like for me now, I'm like one of my goals is to build more male friends that I can have good ass connections with and support and be able to like just connect with about like everything in our life, because I feel like there's on both ends, like for women and men, it's like sometimes for men, it's like they think, oh, because she's a female, I should pursue her in that way. I should try to like see if she likes me. And it's almost like an ego thing, I think it's like with the ego likes to sneak in. Like if you haven't worked through your ego issues, it's like men think like, oh, because she's maybe an attractive woman, like if she's not into me, like it's gonna hurt my ego. But at the end of the day, it's like if a woman wants to be your friend and hang out with you in that way, like you should be flattered, because it's like also just like anyone's time. It's like that is like sacred. And like if someone wants to spend time with you at like any kind of way, like build a connection first. Like I think that's like the disconnect is like people don't know how to build a connection first to see even if is this person even a match for me and the values that I have, the lifestyle that I want. They just like, oh, it's a male, like instantly like it's fucking primal instinct, you know. It's like people think like, oh, like I'm trying to get my dick wet, I'm trying to get fucked, you know. And it's like honestly it's like just see if there's a connection. Like what do you guys have in common? Like you don't have to instantly go for like the physical aspect or start dating, or like, you know, like if there's a, you know, if that's what you're looking for, great. But I think it's also just being upfront about what you're looking for. And I think there's a disconnect there where people don't know how to either communicate what they want, or it's like the weird like talking, you know, the talking phase. Me and my mom were just talking about this the other day. It's like, what the fuck is talking? It's like either like define what you guys are, and like people have fear around that, like, oh, I don't want to be like, oh, what are we? But it's like, no, bitch, demand that. Like, what are we? Like, don't waste my time, you know. So it's like women on the one side, it's like they're afraid, it's like all a fear of rejection, you know. It's like women are afraid of being rejected, so they don't ask what are we, when it's like, oh, like, do you want a relationship? Like, ask yourself that. Do I want a relationship? Is this situation going to get me to a relationship? If not, it's probably not really worth my time. Like, if you're just looking to hook up with someone, fine, but also talk about that. Like, you guys can be on the same page and communicate that and be like, hey, like, I'm just, you know, this is what I want. Like, if that's not what you want, like, fine. But it's like, people don't want to say that because then they're fearful that they'll lose that. But it's like, it's still not, that's what's preventing people from actually meeting their partner that they're meant to be with. It's like they're keeping these people in their back pocket just in case, instead of being specific and defining, what do I want? What do I want my relationship to look like? What do I want my dynamics with men or women to look like? And they're just like avoiding that because they're fearful of rejection, instead of just being like, hey, this is me. This is who I am. These are my desires. These are my boundaries. These are my standards. If you don't meet those, that's fine. I'm still okay with myself and I don't take it personal. You know, everyone takes things personal nowadays. So it's like really removing the ego, because like, you know, men are insecure about this, women are insecure about that, but it's like, it's not about you. Like if someone doesn't want to be with you, it's really not about you. It's about them and where they're at in their life and what they want, and that's okay. It's like I heard a thing one time, it was like when you're applying for jobs, like you don't get one, like you have to apply to another one, like you got to eat, you know. It's like same thing with dating. It's like if your goal is to date, you know, then it's like if somebody doesn't want to date you, like that's okay, like go find somebody else. Like there's so many people in the world, but 100%. People get hurt by, you know, little situations. It's like even for myself, like I feel like before I was truly like confident in myself, like I would take like rejection as like, oh, something is wrong with me, instead of being like, oh no, that's fine, you know, like, and just communicating. I think just like people don't know how to communicate and just be like, hey, this is what I want, these are my needs, these are my boundaries. Like it's like, oh, as soon as you get into the situation, it's like, oh, like all of a sudden I don't know how to act, I don't know how to speak, I don't know what I want, because then it's the potential too. Like that's the thing. Like people look at what the potential is of somebody. So it's like, oh, I have this idea of what you could be, I'm gonna stick around and see if maybe you're actually that person. But it's like, also people show you who they are. They show you who they are. You see it. You know, it's like that's not going to change. Like you can be like, okay, maybe next time it'll be better. Maybe next time it'll be better. Like, no, they already showed you who they were. Like, especially like, I don't know how men are, but like for women, it's like they want to give them all these chances. It's like, how many chances do you want to give people to have access to you in any aspect? You know, not even just sexual. Like if someone's weird about something, it makes you feel a certain type of way. Like, how many times are you going to let them be weird and make yourself feel uncomfortable without saying something?
Yeah, your energy is important. And my one buddy, he's just the best. Cito, that's my boy. But he's from Ivory Coast. He moved to Lakewood, played football and played college football out there. He's gonna get drafted and ended up becoming he's basically an entrepreneur, and he's just a killer. But he has a quote. I don't even know if it's his, but he always spews out shit like this. And he's like, when people show you who they are, believe them. And that's one of the biggest things. And one thing that I meant to bring up earlier, but you kind of just touched on, was energy. And I mean, giving people your energy, and it's not always like sexual energy. It's not always like that. It's, I mean, you can be accessed at any given time, 24 hours a day on your phone. And waking up, my morning routine, and I worked with a personal development coach, it's wake up, you're not even looking at your phone, it's not even in the other room. You get direct sunlight first, drink a little bit of water, then you start to meditate, because you're coming out of theta, and then you're coming into more of like an alpha state.
Yeah.
Beta is the one that's like where you're like going haywire, where all these thoughts, it's primal emotions.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it keeps you weak. But yeah, the social disconnect. I just feel like on one side, I think men are not very. They don't really lead nowadays. I think.
I roll.
Yeah, I know, and that's one big thing. But I also think there's kind of like that fear of like, well, she has so many options.
Yeah.
She has so many people options.
Access to thousands of people at your fingertips.
For sure.
Yeah.
So.
And also, though, it's like you have to have the mindset of like, oh, but they're not me. You know, it's like.
So true.
having
That's the
that
confident
confidence in
part.
yourself.
Yeah.
It's like, you know, like, okay, someone might be physically more attractive to you, but like it's like more about your personality and who you are, the energy that you bring, you know. And it's like also it's like if she does have access to other people and if she wants them, like you'll see that, she'll show you that, and let her go.
Yeah.
It's not the one for you. Like
Of course.
you'll find your queen.
Yeah.
You know, but it's like I think it's hard for, you know, when you find someone who it's like, okay, you think they check all the boxes, and then it's like, then if it doesn't work out, then it's like, oh no, like I'll never find someone. It's like, no, like you have to keep trying. It's like literally anything in your life, you have to keep trying. You have to put the work in. You have to put effort in. And I think that's something for me. It's like, I will say, like, I haven't really put the work in to try to date because I've been so focused on like just like building myself, learning about myself. And like, that's something I'm very grateful for. Like there's a lot of people who it's like, yeah, maybe they've had all these relationships or they've had a long-term relationship, but they've never actually done the work to be alone and sit with themselves. And some people don't know how to.
Most people.
Yeah, and they don't know how to be alone. You know, it's like there's people that are like, oh, I've been in this relationship for 8 years. It's like, who are you without that person? But it's like, then it's like they actually aren't even really connected to that person. It's just comfortable. It's just the norm. It's what they do every day. So it's like there's some people who it's like they've been in these relationships, but like you see single people who are like happier than them without a relationship because it's like they actually know themselves. Or it's like when I do get into a relationship, it will be able to be a good dynamic because I know myself and I know that like I said, like I know what my boundaries are, I know what my standards are. So like if it's not going to be a good fit, I'll know that and be like, hey, it's not a, you know, it's not a good fit. So it makes it a lot easier and a lot less painful.
For sure. Well, you've always had a good head on your shoulders. Where I'm at right now, and I think kind of you are the same, is like you're so like kind of dating yourself, like fully in love with yourself. You're the focal point. Yeah, but it becomes like not necessarily contagious, but it becomes like addicting more than anything, to the point where you're like, I'm so peaceful, I'm so like in love with my life right now that it's like I don't want to. I'm hesitant to bring someone.
It does make it difficult. I will say that too. Like touching on, I know you said like as an entrepreneur, it's like when you are so in your routine, so regimented. I do this, I do that. Like someone has to literally match my freak, you know, and like be doing the same thing. It's like okay, like you have to literally be like invested in your health and wellness. You have to be, you know, like working kind of similar type of schedule or similar like. It doesn't have to, you know, but it's like it's a lot easier as an entrepreneur to, I feel like, be friends with or date an entrepreneur because you get it too.
Right.
And the entrepreneurship mindset is so much different than like a normal 9-to-5 person or someone who has a corporate job. Or like nothing against those people, but it's a different type of grind. It's like you could be like 3 a.m, oh, I have this idea, I'm gonna get up, I'm gonna start working, you know, or it could be like, you know, you wake up super early in the morning. Everyone's schedules are different, so I think it's just finding somebody who can complement you in that way. But it's definitely I would say challenging because you're so comfortable being alone that it's like if somebody else were to come in, that needs to get scheduled into your life now. They need to get scheduled into your life. When am I going to have time to text you? When am I going to have time to hang out with you? It's like you have to make that time. And I think it's like, okay, if you actually feel like it's a good connection, it's important, then you will make that time, you know?
But it's pretty attractive when someone like loves themselves enough to like be like, I'm number one, you're number two right now.
Yeah,
you know?
that's fine. Like for me, it's like I would never want to be like, I want to be prioritized, yes, but like you have to be number one for yourself. Like I don't want someone like putting me before them, and
it's unattractive. I mean, it's neediness, cleanliness.
Exactly.
So I don't want you to need me. I want you to want me.
Yeah,
you know?
Like, oh, I'm super free. Like I got nothing to do. It's like be less available.
It's like, dude, do something, bro. I get it, but Riley, it's been awesome having you. So what I want to end it with is kind of like, obviously, like the client that you want to be speaking to right now, and then where they can find you.
Yeah, for sure. So you can find me on Instagram at riley.tatanetti, which I don't know if you'll throw it down here with the
Yeah, shit, I'll figure it out.
spell it out.
Yeah.
On social media at riley.tatnetty, I post a lot about just overall wellness and trying to help women get their glow back, heal from burnout, and just heal their bodies in all aspects, mind, body, soul, all of it, and just really be empowered in themselves and learn how to trust themselves. So I would say like that's my biggest goal, is to help women become the strongest versions of themselves and really learn how to create their life by design instead of by default.
Amazing. I love it. Until next episode, you guys.